Let's go in game. Thunderbird is a go. As we get this started up. In the top left-hand side, our Red Terran player from Pixel 1. You'll see him playing in the China Team Championship starting 2 weeks on Sunday. This is FanTaSy. Up against the blue Terran in the bottom right-hand side, Cure. 2 proxied barracks here from Cure on the top left-hand side, so setting these up and getting this ready to roll. We do have this SCV of FanTaSy going to be moving through the main base, so through the main base, through the middle of the map, down towards the main base of Q, and he's going to see in that main base the lack of a barracks. So without any barracks being seen there, that should give FanTaSy a bit of a heads up. FanTaSy is looking for a fast expansion, though. However, when he sees no barracks, he can cancel that. It's a shame that he put it down before seeing no racks. He has to cancel this. There's no way to defend a low ground CC. He just double checks the corners. He's going to cancel it, and again, now he's going to look for a factory. Hopefully ASAP. That's up a bunker as well. He actually also, his supply depots aren't at the for here, so he doesn't even have a wall off to try and slow things down. Alright, well, Kira is going to be waiting with the first Reaper, waiting for Reaper number 2. FanTaSy goes into Marine after the first Reaper. A Marine builds much faster than a Reaper, so waiting for that to pop up shortly as we do see the 2 Reapers of Kira popping up. SCV on that right-hand side will go down. Marine going to be able to pick up that kill, so Reaper will go down, and this Reaper able to get a Marine kill as well, so good stuff so far, as we do have grenade drops. Reaper bounces itself. SCV is coming around to chase that Reaper down, and getting the Marine pressing forwards to try and help out. The bunkers just aren't done, and so FanTaSy seems to be in trouble, man. Kira is just at this stage at the moment where his Reaper micro is so good that he just wins games with this just from the start. It's crazy. And as he comes around here, he gets the Marine. He's got a little bit more time before the Hellion shows up. Did lose one Reaper along the way, but for the damage he's dealing, obviously it's fine. He's already done a lot, and oh my god. FanTaSy misses the surround. As the Hellion pops out, one of the Reapers will go down. A grenade buys a little bit more time where he doesn't take damage. So 2 Reapers get out of there alive, joining up with a third on the low ground. 9 workers killed. More than enough for Kyo to be in a good position now. His factory is already building a Cyclone. And, well, he's going to have the minerals to expand a lot sooner than FanTaSy will. The worker lead for Kyo is established, and this was a successful proxy 2 Rex Reaper at the start of game number 1 of our TvT. So, Montian, did Kyo and Dynamite play? Yes, they did, but we're not going to announce the results yet. Just because we might cast those replays in this stream still. We're only going to be casting for another 2 hours because we don't want to cast during WCS, but we will announce all of the results from the group by the end of the day. So, yes, some of these matches obviously play at the same time. We're just not announcing all the results. We only announced the FanTaSy Dynamite results because I knew that was going to be too long for us to cast later on. And we were kind of waiting on the series to finish, so I just let people know what was going on, basically. So the other results will be told at the end when we've decided which matches we're going to cast. Again, anything we don't cast today as well, by the way, we will cast another day. We're going to make up like another day, another group day, basically, where we just cast the games we didn't get to cast on the initial days of each group, because we are limited by WCS starting, basically. Cycle in the back of the base here is just chipping away at that barracks. FanTaSy is just like, yep, I'll take you down. I'll take you down. Cyclone gets a lock on there. Hellion's forced back to the high ground. Thank you, Thongya, for the 12-month, 1-year resub. Another one that joins the 1-year club. Thank you so very much for the 1 year of resubscribing. Really do appreciate it. Give us a love in the chat, everybody, for Thongya. Alright, well, so order the TvT. FanTaSy has got a tank out to push this away, but he's only just started his command center. I mean, we're talking about Kira has started a 3rd command center faster than FanTaSy has started his natural. So FanTaSy basically has one push in him, and it's this push right here. If he does not do anything with this attack, he is in so much trouble. And he's actually not even going across the map. He's going to siege up the tank and just sit here defensively and waiting. Kira is just running away with this game. I mean, like I said, 9 workers killed is just way too many kills to allow to happen. So, yeah, that's a bit of a shame as this Banshee coming through the bottom side of the map, going to be heading across into the main base in the next couple of moments. So Banshee in towards the main and going to go after a few of those SCVs perhaps. Cyclone is going to get a lock on onto the Banshee. That's some nice defense from Kira as well. Even the ways that FanTaSy is meant to get back in this game are being shut down heavily. And as he was flying with that Banshee, he maybe didn't quite see the third CC, but I feel like he maybe saw the units on the, or the workers on the mineral line. He is just going to go across the map. I mean, you have no choice. You do have an army supply advantage. If there is anything to be done here, it is to go across the map and attack, and to try and see if you can just end this game. Just gonna have a little bit of an army set up in the center. Hellion out on the left-hand side, and, well, FanTaSy is not going across the map like I kind of thought he would. I thought this was going to be a push where he was just going straight down to the bottom and going all out. I mean, he has started up a third command center of his own, but he's trailing by 20 SCVs. 20 SCVs is not something you just casually come back from, you know? This is not something where you're just like, oh, you know what, I'll just catch up and, you know, well, I will get there. He needs to deal some damage, but he does not have the tools to deal damage. He has just Marines, tanks, and upgraded. Look at the production tab. 1-1 upgrades, stim pack, combat shields. These are all things which make Kira's army so much better than FanTaSy's. Never mind the fact that Kira's army is soon to be much larger than FanTaSy's because he's getting even more barracks finished up. He's going to be pumping out, what, 8 Marines at a time versus the 1 Marine at a time. Only 1 barracks for FanTaSy in this game at the moment. So in a minute, you're actually making 21 more Marines. How ridiculous is that? 21 more Marines per minute. Never mind APM. MPM is what this game might come down to. And Q absolutely has that advantage. He's even built up that worker advantage to a 25 worker difference. As he starts to come across the map, this is really Q just going through the motions to clean up a game that really is already decided. Unless he really messes up this fight. It's hard to mess up this fight when you have interference matrix on the Ravens, though, because you can disable the tanks. It's not like you're pushing into a tank line that's just consistently firing. So yeah, throw down a few interference matrices and you should absolutely be able to get up here. Just a few auto turrets as well. Any tanks that aren't matrix will be soaking up some shots on that couple of auto turrets, but yeah, pushing forwards, you know, kind of went a bit better for FanTaSy than I really thought it would. These tanks kind of left on their own. Tanks will in siege and will go for a couple of the kills on the Vikings. Wow. FanTaSy's actually going to defend. What went wrong there for Kier? Well, he lost one of the Ravens before he got a lot of the abilities off of it. And he never disabled these 2 tanks on the side, so it was very tough for him to really make the most of that. And he also had his own tanks disabled too. So despite having what I feel was a bit more Raven energy, etc., he wasn't really able to capitalize. And then on top of that, the Marines just kind of died. So FanTaSy will hold on, and I wish that could be something I could be positive about, but he's holding on with still a 25 army supply difference. I mean, again, talking about 21 MPMs, Marines per minute difference. I mean, it's a huge difference, and obviously Kira just has another army ready to go, which is why you can kind of somewhat recklessly attack here. The thing is, this is Thunderbird, and Thunderbird is one of those maps where you are able to survive a lot longer than you should a lot of the time. But when you're this far behind, I mean, Kira can attack and make attacks that you wouldn't usually want to make on Thunderbird. But again, it works out in this scenario because, again, he just has so much reproduction. The upgrades here on the engineering base are going to go down, and again, I wish I could make this game a bit more exciting, but it really is just FanTaSy trying to stay in this, and I guess just hoping that Kira does throw away too many units. We're about to see Kira, by the way, on 2-2 upgrades against +1 armor because the +1 attack was denied. So it's not just everything else, it's also going to be the upgrades that are going against FanTaSy as well. And this time the Marines come in from a couple of angles. The tanks just will not be able to kill enough in time. The Vikings will try and land. The Cure has just got a bit too much. Cure takes game number 1 against FanTaSy here. Goes up 1-0 in this best of. Feels good. If anyone in the chat plays Pokemon Go, I am looking for more friends. I've got a lot of gifts that I can't send because I literally don't have enough friends. So, if you play Pokemon Go, hit me up on my Discord or send me a Twitch DM with your friend code. I want to be a friend! This is my shameless self-plug for popularity here. As we're going to have Proxy Racks once again. I mean, it's another great map for Proxy Racks, so why the hell not? Especially if you can micro like the man who sits in the top right-hand side, Cure. He's Proxy Racksing it up, and again, I cannot blame him. He's been so good with these Reapers as of late. And he is up against the Blue Terran. In the bottom left-hand side, it is FanTaSy. Alright, so Cure, 2 racks nearby. FanTaSy this time is going for double gas openings. That is immediately a lot stronger. FanTaSy is going to scout this with an SCV, so you get to see this coming as well. So this is obviously best case scenario for FanTaSy. Plays a double gas opener, and he's going to be playing not just a double gas opener. He's going to scout it and know that he's, should be preparing for this pretty early on as well. Although he's currently microing that SCV, he should be placing that factory as a priority. He's trying to delay this barracks from finishing. He's not quite going to be able to do it. And now his factory is, 40 gas slower than it should be. Which is obviously a little bit of a shame. Reaper pops in, SCV on the racks, taking some damage. A couple more Reapers starting up from Cure. We've seen 2 Reapers hopping up, and just going to be doing a little bit of damage at the moment. SCV is taking some hits. The Reaper's going to go down. And the Hellion is not far off, but it's going to be a Hellion. It is going to be joined up by a Reaper, so it is going to have some support. Hellion gets the kill on a Reaper right away. You're just going to back away a little bit then. He's already, 7 workers once again is a lot of damage already done. It's a lot of damage already done. Is it Thursday? It's Thursday, right? My building's not actually on fire. Cool. Damn, this was kind of a late fire alarm. How come they don't do the fire alarm test at 1:30 p.m. on the days where I wake up at 1 p.m.? Usually if I was still in bed today, guys, if I was streaming like this evening rather than today, and I would say I was still in bed and having to lie in, they would have tested that fire alarm at 9:30 a.m. sharp, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's crazy, but it happens. FanTaSy has a proxy starport in response to the Reapers. Now, proxy starport was a pretty typical go-to as a response for this sort of style lately. So, intrigued to see what comes of this. This is nice, denies a little bit. The factory only just finished the tech lab, so you can deny a lot of mining of Cure here, and this is maybe FanTaSy's way back into this game. What's the starport going to build next? A second Liberator. I would almost really like a Medivac to kind of get these Reapers and Hellions to be aggressive. Feels like it could be pretty successful maybe, but then again, I guess you can be aggressive onto the natural. If FanTaSy can get across the map, first you have to go through those slow zones, and Cure is kind of sat here waiting for him. Although Cure is going to have to run through a slow zone in a second, and that's going to give Hellions a chance to catch up. Really good grenades from Cure. Saves the Reapers. That was not a guarantee. And that is actually a really good save from Cure. Really well done there. We're going to see the Liberator gets locked onto by a Cyclone again. Will get out of range, though. One of the Reapers went in an odd direction. Will go down. So this counterattack from FanTaSy is getting a lot done. That Liberator should be out of range. And the command center might be going down. FanTaSy building up a siege tank as well as his reinforcements And he's also got, again, the other Liberator now coming out into the main base, so he's going to get some damage done with this, and he's going to take that Cyclone away as well. Will unsiege the Liberator, pull away. Really great play by FanTaSy, doing everything correctly at the moment. A Viking being made to help out as well. I mean, honestly, the problem is just the Cyclone is going to come around, is going to be able to lock on. His units actually move back down the ramp. Reapers are able to hit that starport from the high ground, which is nice. They will force it to lift in a few moments. Starport comes down the bottom side. Couple more command centers continue to come up. Barracks going to take some damage. So, FanTaSy is able to survive, kind of deal a lot of damage, and put himself in a great spot. Canceling the CC really is great. Forces Q to rebuild. So now the command centers are at the same time, and FanTaSy is on the low ground, so he doesn't even lose time floating it down or anything. Two tanks will be sieging up. As again, the barracks of Q are flying through the natural expansion. Viking able to deal some damage to the medevac. Punchy pops out, comes over to the natural expansion. Some SCVs from Q are going to transfer from the natural to the main base. From the main base to the natural. I'm getting my bases the wrong way around. Sorry, just taking a moment to think about the game a little bit, because it's obviously turned into quite an interesting little scenario. The way FanTaSy was able to get so much damage done on the counter. But Kyo's playing a bit of catch-up at the moment. What does FanTaSy have in his favor now? I mean, Kyo has a third CC ready to go. Sorry, did Kyo have a third CC before and I'm just blind? Probably. In fact, Kyo actually has a third CC is pretty impressive. Now he's starting up the extra barracks. Maybe FanTaSy's just... Feels like FanTaSy's going to go and try and win the game with this push. And Kyo is ready to go in towards, you know, the macro game of a lifetime. So... yeah, pretty funky. Pretty funky indeed. Still just seeing those three tanks repositioning. Third base coming down. I mean, if again FanTaSy just... he's still only on a 1-1-1 setup, so maybe he plays mech from here. I mean, this is a very strong map for mech with those slow zones. It's very difficult to move across, etc. If he wants to play mech, I mean, you can afford being on a 1-1-1 for longer, but if he wants to play bio, then his extra barracks is delayed, so his production will be delayed. Not only that, but obviously the, you know, upgrades such as stim and combat shields are delayed too. And this Banshee has tagged like 4 or 5 different SCVs down to half health. Here's a cloakless Banshee, so couldn't have just cloaked up before the Ravens got here. Nice from Cure, able to get some more damage. And Cure is pulling away in that work count, 48 to 43. Older turret finally coming down, able to turn that Banshee into Banshee dust. +1 attack and armor on those engineering bays. 2 more barracks coming into play in the main, and again just seeing Siege Shanks Marines gathering up between the natural and that third. Medevac going out around over the left hand side here, and just going to be seeing the couple of medevacs continue to move around as well. Going to be going up at the top. He really has pushed himself up into that advantage with that faster third base. I mean, the faster barracks. It's kind of crazy after FanTaSy did so much damage. It's almost like FanTaSy kept building to be more aggressive, but then never got more aggressive to take further advantage of it. And now he's, again, definitely lost a little bit of what he had going for himself, which is a bit of a shame, I suppose. It is a bit of a shame. Two medevacs down the left side. Nice interference. Matrix is going to stop the boost, so the Vikings will stay in range. That's really nice, of course. That's really well done, actually. That's really well done. Okay, well, that's pretty nice. Something, at least. Just going to be seeing those tanks, Marines, coming down the bottom side of the map. Again, a few Marines over here going to lift up into that medevac as well. There's a fourth base also going to be dropping into place. Another medevac boosting. Getting caught there by those Vikings. Two upgrades as well. I mean, it's again just all of those bio upgrades that FanTaSy is so late on because of the way he was setting up in this game. It's kind of crazy, really. Marines and tanks on the bottom side. A few Marines up here going to find that medevac, and that's a nice catch from Cure. Again, just another, just added to the list of ways in which Cure seems to be taking advantages in this game. Because they are adding up. They are adding up in a big, big way. Need we mention the fourth base already finished from Cure down here. FanTaSy's fourth, still building. Still has to float across. Another set of Marines just picked off as well. Again, FanTaSy just can't fight Marine on Marine because he doesn't have the bio upgrades. I just don't understand what happened for FanTaSy. It's like my best analysis of it is truly that he built up to be more aggressive. He didn't take advantage of that, especially when Cure was a bit greedy to get back into it. And that greed has just paid off tenfold for Cure. Cure now, again, up 20 army supply, up 10 workers, up base, doubling the upgrades. The difference is really incredible. Marines of FanTaSy pushing up the top left, trying to deal a bit more damage. Since South starts up over on the left-hand side, and we are going to be seeing again Marines, tanks, medevacs just hovering in that top left corner. They are waiting to make a move, waiting for the opportunity. There's also a lot more units heading into the middle. There's already this little squad over here. Looks like Cure is planning some sort of pincer movement. Gonna siege tanks on that high ground, and it's gonna be good to get some shots off. He's in range of the planetary that's morphing. It's just gonna lift up. It's out of there. It's not interested. I mean, that's just the fourth base being denied. There's going to be the interference matrices allowing for FanTaSy to siege up, and he will be able to target fire the siege tanks down. So that's a nice play by FanTaSy. Meanwhile, a game of 2-2 upgrades. Cure should win this fight, which he's setting up for on this bottom side. Tanks dealing some damage. The extra Marines coming in. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get the other tank before the extra Marines showed up. I still feel like Cure is making the better trades, though. Trying. Suicide drop down on towards these siege tanks. Nice interference makes to slow it down. That wasn't good for Cure. He just gave up a lot of units and killed nothing. He lost the medevacs to the Vikings, and he lost some of the, he lost some of the Marines from being able to drop because of interference matrix. Suddenly Cure just lost his entire army on the top left-hand side. Well, that's how TvT can turn in an instant. Is Cure really researching the medevac upgrade? High capacity fuel tanks? He is. Not sure if that's intentional. I mean, Curved reactor starts from FanTaSy. That's an upgrade you might expect to see. Fusion core is on the way from Cure. Maybe he wants to get lib range. But high capacity fuel tanks. I'm not sure that's his problem, right? I'm not sure that's why he lost that army, you know? No, I'm not sure that's why that went down so unsuccessfully. Marines and tanks gathering up here from Cure. I mean, FanTaSy is going to give him some time, and Cure is going to be maxed out again. That extra income from earlier, making up for what was a sudden large loss of army. Man, FanTaSy just going into quite a lot of Ravens, though, so he's really playing for a much later stage of this. Good amount of Marines, a good amount of siege tanks. Moving around between the bases is on the bottom. We do see some Marines setting up here. Drop the matrices just to make this as efficient trade as possible. Obviously, FanTaSy has a lot of Ravens now, so you may as well drop a matrix to save a few Marines. If you have the energy, make use of it, right? It's a free resource. Here, still maxed out. Still the player moving from side to side. Still the one on 5 bases because FanTaSy hasn't had an attack on the other side of the map since the 5-minute marker. You know, you look at the difference. You know, this base from Cure doesn't have a single tank protected, and FanTaSy invests 3 siege tanks to try and keep that alive. And that is a big difference, right? I mean, that means FanTaSy does not have as much army in the middle of the map looking for these fights. So a lot of Vikings and Ravens. Again, the air control is absolutely in FanTaSy's favor. And Cure's building Liberators as though he's got the air control himself. I mean, that scan there absolutely reveals the Vikings, so... Yeah, did he just cancel the Liberators? No, they did finish. Unless he wants to just use these Liberators to get a bit of, you know, some splash damage down. 4 Ravens now being built at a time from FanTaSy, so really investing into a lot of these. A couple of Marines up the top left, just picking off SCVs, building structures. Marines are simming down to that planetary fortress in the bottom right. A lot of SCVs starting to go down. Liberators are going to siege up, pushing those Marines away. Vikings taking some damage as well. Marines, tanks, medevacs, Vikings, and Liberators. Setting up from Q. We're going to see those couple of tanks will siege, and Vikings and Ravens of FanTaSy. We're going to try and press forwards here. And Marines of FanTaSy down at the bottom right is going to be able to pick off the command center. So command center goes down. Vikings going to get hit by an anti-armor missile again. We kind of knew FanTaSy had the air control. FanTaSy's going to use that now as a way to move in towards battle cruisers here, so... Still making use of that air army. Still progressing it forwards into the real late game. God of the skies, the BCs. Now, the BCs have to be a little bit careful because, of course, when it comes to the... when it comes down to the Vikings, you know, if there's too many Vikings, BCs will just die. BCs do a lot to kind of tilt things into your favor, though, because not only they're strong in the sky, they take a lot of Viking shots to kill. And obviously that can make a big difference in the Viking on Viking fights. There's a few Marines going to unload here, just a few, though most Marines are going towards the main base. There's a big stim back from FanTaSy's army to come and try and deal with this. Anti-armor missile going to strike, that's great, because it means when these Marines get to the high ground, one of the advantages is going to be taken away. I tell you what, though, Q is going to find the battle cruisers building. Well, he unfortunately kills the 2 starports, which are not building battle cruisers. That's a shame, because he really could have got... He really could have gotten rid of those battle cruisers there, but he didn't. And he still trades out pretty well. There's still Marines left as the BCs pop. And he has to see the BCs, which is nice as well. Good information to work with. Sorry guys, started to die during that a couple of moments. Sup Hajin, thank you so much for the sub. How you doing? Hope you're well. Thanks for the subscription. John missile striking again. The Ravens are just getting so much done here for FanTaSy as Cure, though. Is the kind of brute force of just more bases going to work out? Again, he is going to lose the fight in the skies. I mean, there's no real way you'd expect it to go otherwise when one army is plastered in anti-armor and the other is not. Here still holds just the army supply, slight army supply advantage, money in the bank. He's still up there on the ground. Here is making things happen as well, but he just to push forwards and he pushes into tanks and that loses a lot of supplies, so FanTaSy will hold that off. I don't think there was any real reason for Kyo to push in like that into that many sieged up tanks. I mean, meanwhile, BCs are denying a base up to the top sides. Maybe he felt pressure to make something happen there. Marines again picking their way through this command center. The Vikings going to be able to get rid of the 2 medevacs. And again, those 2 orbitals from Kyo set up just in front of that planetary fortress as well. Have a starport on the way down. The Marines moving over to the side, and well, again, Kyo, he had more eco in this game and he's still showing us how. Maxes out again. Then again, he is also maxing out on units that are cheaper than the units that FanTaSy is maxing out on. So when we look at the value of these armies, you can see FanTaSy is just worth that, but a little bit more gas. That's just going to keep adding up as he adds in Raven after Raven at the moment. Missile turrets to get a kill as well. 22 minutes of this TvT. Kyo leads the series 1-0. There's battle cruisers coming forwards. A couple of Marines already going down. Siege tanks in some trouble. Gonna see the BCs teleporting away. Always a frustrating little something to deal with. You know, you think you're finally like, yes, I'm gonna kill them. No, I'm not. They're just on the other side of the map already. People thought it was a good idea to get battle cruisers playing. Nobody knows. Marines are going to spread out a little bit, and planetary forces will begin to be repaired. The Vikings are going to land as well. It really just wants to target this down, deny that income. It's really important to try and lower FanTaSy to just 5 bases, because if Kyo is going to win this game, he needs to not let FanTaSy just mine up like this. You can see resources lost is very favorable to FanTaSy, so Kyo needs to mine more than him. And that's what Kyo achieves with this attack. He takes down a planetary force, he takes down workers, and now you don't have as much mining ongoing. And that was a good little play, took advantage of the situation. FanTaSy getting more battle cruisers up and running again. He's building towards kind of the god tier army. Here is still kind of on a bit of a lower tech army here, which is again why he's been able to remax a couple of times even after bad fights. Got a base bottom right, a base coming up top left again. Maybe he has to set the missile turrets up to help deal with the BCs if they go and harass there. Anti-armor missile all over the Vikings once more, but this time the number count might just be too different anyways, because there's a lot of Vikings up from Kyo. 17 against 10. So even with anti-armor, they might be able to take the fight this time around. That said, there is battle cruisers. And battle cruisers are very good when it comes to dealing damage against a lack of armor, because every single one of their shots will benefit from that anti-armor, and there is a lot of shots available. A new anti-armor was thrown down. The Marines are going to make a move forwards. This command center is going to die, so another base from FanTaSy will fall. SCVs are still dropping as they move back away towards the natural expansion. And these few Marines in the corner from FanTaSy are just sat there. There's only a couple of them fighting at a time. Liberators are coming to back this up as well. The BCs show up with some Yamato cannons saving the Marines. The Marines from FanTaSy are fighting back as well. The teleport back, a battle cruiser is saved. Liberator going down, and the BCs will reign supreme in the skies as they push forwards. The siege tanks are starting to drop, and FanTaSy is pushing Kyo away once again with the last few parts of his army. These battle cruisers now in some trouble though. Vikings pushing them back again. Marines are trying to get underneath them. A siege tank lies in wait for those Marines and will lay victim to a few, and that's when Kyo decides to turn away once more. FanTaSy wants to retake this base, but it's just too soon. Kyo has siege tanks here, and FanTaSy does have a base up here, but no SCVs on it. He needs to get those workers there, otherwise he's going to mine out. Down 20 workers in this game. He has an army supply advantage, FanTaSy, but again, if he is not able to keep mining, that will change very quickly, and this is a great catch here from Kyo. There's no right move for FanTaSy. You leave that base landed, it dies, you lift it up. Maybe you can somehow fly it away, but I mean, either way, it's going to die off as a drop on the bottom side. Intercepted. This base from FanTaSy will be able to land. Kyo just doesn't have as many units as he'd like to be everywhere at the moment. And he is starting to push through the center of the map once again. Vikings are Raven and battle cruisers again, caught in that slow zone. It's good for the BCs. I love this. The Marines going to get underneath until the BCs show up. You can absolutely deal some damage here. The Marines are just going to commit. The tanks are sieged, actually. Now the interception on the Vikings of Kyo. And Kyo is going to lose a few units here as well. The Marines continue to press into this mineral line. A lot of SCVs starting to go down. and the battle cruisers here as well, and there just does not seem to be an answer to the 7 battle cruisers. FanTaSy invested in the late game, and that investment is paying off massively for him right now. BC's to the bottom side from FanTaSy. He'll deny one of these bases, some payback, some revenge for the bases of his that have been going down in the last few moments as we see SCVs dropping. The planetary forest will die unless these Vikings can save the day. And they are going to push the BCs back. The BCs afraid. Obviously, Vikings have the range on the battle cruisers. Planetary survives. Base kept up from Cure. His army supply is back up there again. We talked about this a few times, why that's happening, etc. Kills a Raven, gets a good few Vikings. He's going to come dropping Marines on top of this fight. Yamato cannon's going off, but suddenly the BCs, how much trouble are they really in? The Vikings need to kite away out of range. There's a couple of Vikings in the back as well. More Yamato cannons going off. Man, these Vikings are barely tackling the battle cruisers. Finally picking up another one of those kills. Trying to kite back, trying to target down the lower health. BC will get another reinforcing Viking from Cure showing up, but not really enough. And again, Cure's army supply drops down 30, 40 below that of FanTaSy here. Losing SCVs on the top left-hand side as well. 27 minutes in this game, and Cure is starting to bleed out truly now. He needs Cure to be able to deny this base of FanTaSy. Because of the air units are actually the best way to get around this map. You skip over these ledges without going through the slow zones. So landing these Vikings going to get a bunch more SCVs kills, those couple of Marines as well. The entire mineral line cleaned out. 35 workers is all that's left here on the map for FanTaSy. And again, Cure makes a good play to keep FanTaSy from mining. The BCs, though, are back in the bottom right. So again, it's going to be some revenge, killing off some of those workers. Another orbital goes down. I mean, there is still a good few orbitals left over that can just fly out into position. Cure is going to do the same, flying orbital down into the center of the map. Again, FanTaSy gave up using too many Marines a long time ago. And that's the difference. The army supply is even up, but mostly because Cure is working with 30 more Marines than what FanTaSy has. That's extremely painful. SCV's going down as the battle cruisers come chasing in. The Marines going to go for this interference matrix, dropping down. Catches up one of those BCs already. The other Marines coming in from the top side as well. Going to start stimming in towards those battle cruisers. And we do see the BCs going to teleport away as the Vikings show up as well. What's the battle cruiser count at? Only 4. It feels manageable. It feels like Cure has kind of chipped away at that number to bring it down to something that is really now very, very, again, engageable, fightable. I think is absolutely the correct word. Manageable, I suppose, really covers it. All right, well, Cure back towards the upper left-hand side. FanTaSy is trying to recover, trying to rebuild, trying to regroup. Marines, tanks, and Vikings in the center. See a few more Marines still reinforcing this. FanTaSy hasn't completely given up on Marines. It just is much more kind of, again, as it has been for a long time, more tech-heavy from him. Only 4 Marines going down there, but it's actually enough to deal quite a bit of damage. Multiple SCVs going down. Cure is floating another orbital over here. Battlecruiser show up on the top left-hand side. The missile turret gets a shot off. It does an entire, what, like 14 damage to a BC. It's just so, inconsequential. Just got one Marines again wandering in as Cure does lose workers on the top side. Does he have a way to fight this? What's his Viking count at? 8 against 15, so actually he doesn't really have an air army at all, Cure. He's really just committed to the ground army. These Marines, he's going to go for this now. There's a lot of siege tanks in here. He does interference matrix one of them. The other takes a very long time to go down. I mean, if he comes through with the Marines and gets rid of those tanks, the Marines might be able to fight off everything else, but it's just not going to happen. The tank line is way too deep, and he's going to get rid of that final tank now. Is he? Well, actually, maybe. BC's teleport back in. That's the problem. There's no way to deal with those battle cruisers. Marines are going to continue chasing Vikings. There's just enough left where the Vikings can't land to fight it. So many Vikings of FanTaSy are going down, and Cure is going to keep himself in this yet again with 25 workers left on the map for FanTaSy. The mining is really in a state of despair. Cure has some income on the bottom side, but the BC show up to shut down this orbital yet again. He is muling the center base, though. That's a lot of SCVs, actually. That's going to bring the SCV count much closer together between the two of them. More Vikings on the way from Cure, realizing after killing so many, he might be able to retake air control again here. So he's going to attempt it. He's going to try and get those Vikings up once more. This is a mess of a game. It's beautiful. 30 minutes in. Those few SCVs surviving. They don't know where to go for the best. Probably just over here, somewhere safer that they can properly mine from. He's got AFK SCVs too, so obviously been talking a lot about the SCV count. Shall we take a look at the income graph? It has been Q favored, that income graph, for quite a while. You can see the armies here. You know, time and time again, even-ish FanTaSy, bit of an advantage. Q loses. But rebuild, because he has the income advantage on his side. It's now at 15,000 resources lost game. Problem is, now FanTaSy is mining this base, and that is a huge amount of income that FanTaSy's needed. Look how long he's been waiting to drop mules. Drops 14 at once. That's not just because he's been forgetting. He's just had nowhere useful to drop them. He has a handful of minerals over here he seems to have somewhat forgotten about. Orbital in the top left. This is another problem as well, as you run out of command centers. Kyo's been just flying any old orbital over, which means he doesn't have planetary fortresses to, you know, help him secure those positions. Battlecruisers have to teleport back down to the bottom side here. Those few Marines and SCV to try and repair orbital will die. Those Marines are in trouble. The Vikings can intercept the medevacs. Oh my god, the medevac's actually going to get away from that. He's going to be forced away. Maybe FanTaSy can take this bottom side base now. It's a base that Kira has mined from multiple times. Obviously, it's kind of meant to be FanTaSy's if Kira has the top left. They've just been trading off bases all over the place. How many command centers have died this game? 6, 8, 6 on this side. It's quite a sizable number when you think about it. You know, how often do you see a command center going down? Maybe a couple times a game or something. 14 have gone down this game. 32 minutes in. And Kira and FanTaSy are absolutely delivering here in the WardiTV Summer Championship Group B for the Korea Regionals. Marines, tanks, Vikings back into the middle of the map. DC is coming forwards, and they are going to start picking up a lot of these SCVs, so quite a few SCVs going down. 11 workers killed already. Tanks firing over this little gap here and able to get some more damage. DCs are kind of on their own. They do have teleports available though, and again, they're just looking to use their efficiency. Get some damage done, teleport away. Deal some damage, get away again. Cure, back to mining on the top side of the map, still mining the center. FanTaSy is mining out. These last few minerals that we mentioned he kind of forgot about a little bit. Well, they're being mined now. FanTaSy only has so many more minerals in this game. If he can't hold another base, he is in trouble. This all started with Q getting extremely far ahead with a 2 Rex Reaper, taking way too much damage to a counterattack, somehow getting ridiculously far ahead in the mid-game, and it has dragged out to the 33-minute marker. What on earth has happened here in this TvT? This base is unprotected, by the way. This is worth stimming into, absolutely. No doubt about it. I mean, there's minerals here. It's a planetary. There's obviously an orbital as well. He's going to stim for. I mean, the orbital is huge because you get rid of the orbital and you get rid of another potential mining base that could have floated out over here. And there's an orbital floating out there as well. How many orbitals are actually left on the map at this point? There's going to be 5 left for FanTaSy, 4 left for Cure. Make that 3. One of them just died right there. And SCV is going down over here as well. Cure has to pull back to his own side of the map. Flying Fortress doesn't find any shots as those units come around. Actually, Cure are going to go down to 2 orbitals remaining. One on this top left-hand side, one still standing strong in the natural. That will probably fly out to this centralized location shortly. These tanks realize they're perhaps not in the best of positions. Marines are going to spread out a little bit. Vikings will fight Vikings. Other Marines coming in, though, getting underneath those Vikings of Q. Q has to be careful about it, but the Marine count is overwhelming. Where the battlecruisers now starting to show up. Battlecruisers coming in. Teleports are available, so they should be able to save themselves as they trade out with these Marines. Another orbital of FanTaSy will go down. The base not allowed to mine. Q knows the importance of keeping this from mining. He will stop it right there. Man, FanTaSy's Marines were just not here to defend. Imagine he had the Marines here. He can hold this base. He's got the numbers to defend. He's not getting the right units in the right place at the right time. Another few SCVs coming over. Heading down to the bottom right. His SCV is going to get picked off as well. Orbital command going to go down. stimming through the bottom side, and it's going to be another orbital found. I mean, again, you get rid of mule opportunities. I mean, it's a lot of energy on that as well. Never drop the mules from it. So that is an important kill. 109 to 107 supplies. This base is up and running, though. And it is going to be mining properly. And again, Q is really out of income now. Q is, you know, we've been talking about FanTaSy losing out on income. Q had bases before. Now he's got this one orbital heading down to the bottom. And that is it. 10 SCVs left on the map. FanTaSy is in position to defend his own side. The Marines are going to stim for this. He's going for the tanks. I think there's too many Marines here from Q, or is there? It's very close. He's going to get rid of the Marines. He's going to get rid of that tank, but the battle cruisers teleport in. And these battle cruisers, by the way, 40 kills, 44 kills, 51 kills, and 41. These battle cruisers have 200 kills between them. 200 freaking kills to end this game. Missed out on game number 2. I am so sorry. I don't know what caused you to not tune in earlier, but you messed up. It was a banger. I'm just gonna say it was a banger. Game of the month, right there. When Team Liquid do their game of the month for August, it's gonna be third on the list. Third on the list. I'm telling you. And prediction right now, third on the list. I know that whoever writes that is watching because they watch everything. It's crazy. That's a hell of a game. We have FanTaSy, our red Terran, winning it out to tie the series up in the top left-hand side. In the bottom right, our blue Terran is Q. Just again, a little bit of a heads up, guys. We are only going to be streaming for 1 more hour today. In 1 hour, WCS Challenger starts. We will announce the results of any matches we don't cast on stream, but we will also be sending those results over to the... we will also be taking those replays and casting them another day so that you guys can still enjoy the games. We'll just get an extra stream out of it at some point, so make sure you drop by for that at some point if you're interested. And... yeah, obviously hit that follow button to see when we are going live. We're back the same time tomorrow for Zest, Solar, Armani, Dream, and Estrella from, again, same time as today, midday, Central European Summertime. Make sure you check it out, more Korean action. Saturday is my day off, and then on Sunday I'm going to be casting the OSC Masters Cup groups. Are they out now? They weren't out when I checked the other day. See who we're going to be casting on Sunday quickly, and then we'll start talking about this game. Oh. It's not out at all. Okay. Alright, so a little bit of action here as the Reapers take down each other's SCVs, but Kira took a little bit too much damage, so can't continue onwards with his Reaper. And he pulls back, obviously, FanTaSy. His Reaper doesn't have superpowers, so it's not any faster than the Reaper of Kira. Stupid work commute making me miss things. Honestly, I highly recommend if you missed that game number 2 to go and watch the VOD. It was a crazy TvT, so absolutely, if you missed it, go back and check it out. It's 100% worthwhile. 100%. Damage continues here from Cure, but he does lose the Reaper for a couple of SCVs. I mean, a couple of SCV kills are nice, of course. Definitely adds up as the starports now coming in on each side. And Hellion coming in from Q down to the bottom right, and again, just this SCV of FanTaSy moving around the natural. Sorry, I'm going to try and tune in earlier. Tell my boss I have more important stuff to do. I mean, you don't have to apologize to me. I'm just sorry for you, you know? I mean, it was just a great game. Like I said, definitely check out the VOD. It'll go up on the YouTube channel as well, and do check out the YouTube, by the way, guys. youtube.com/WardiTV. Subscribe over there. We're trying to push towards 10,000 subs on the YouTube. Subscribing on YouTube is just like following on Twitch, so yeah, we post some YouTube exclusive casts there too. It's definitely worth checking out, and we're doing pretty well for subs lately, so trying to keep up that momentum a little bit. So again, check that out. youtube.com/WardiTV, or if you're super lazy, don't want to type a link, type !YT in the chat. I'll give you the link for you. Gonna see that Hellion patrolling around a little bit. Raven of Cure back up the right-hand side. What are you having a day off? I thought that only existed on Base Trade TV. You know what they say. You learn from the best. Wait, what? Shit, ah! No days off. It's hang out with the girlfriend day tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, Saturday. So, you know what they really say. While Base Trade TV have days off, Wardy's just busy working on the relationship side of life. So it's not really a day off. Kind of is. I'm gonna shut up. I can't find a way to insult Base Trade TV and also just tell the truth, so I'm gonna stop. Raven on the way up on each side. And again, this TvT has been pretty slow paced apart from that little bit of Reaper Hellion aggression. It's been pretty similar in terms of how players are going into this. Siege tank on either side. We are going to be seeing the again, third CC coming up from both players. Cure will build his in location a little later. Is moving out on the map, and so obviously intends to be, if he was intending to be out on the map like this, it's definitely safe for him to drop that down over here. So that is what we're currently seeing. Ravens, Marines, Cyclone, and tanks setting up as we do see the Raven dropping down an order turret in the back of this main base. He's press forward, able to pick off an SCV. Siege tanks able to siege and dealing quite a lot of damage to this command center as well. Cyclone takes a good couple of shots. That's a really nice cancel. Wow. Pure cancels the third CC of FanTaSy. This got real serious real quick. Order turrets as well to try and deny some of the production structures from building here. Order turrets even fighting off a siege tank, and yeah, this is actually becoming a bit of a problem. I mean, more order turrets in the mineral line. At the same time across the map, order turrets are also dealing damage, so Kira is, also losing SCVs, but he's killed a lot more. 17 SCVs killed for Kira, 10 killed by FanTaSy. And Kira is getting ahead here in game number 3. FanTaSy's going to make a play to try and take down this army, however. Does have order turrets left over. Needs to get rid of those siege tanks. Gets rid of one of them. The other will go down. Okay. Well, FanTaSy's cleaned up at least, but again, down a few workers. Production structures slowed. He does have a much faster stim pack. We see production structures slowed. Obviously, there's no production structures at all here for Cure. FanTaSy did rebuild the third CC pretty quickly as well, so he didn't wait too long before that got going once again. That is really important because obviously you do want this up and running. So the cancel is painful, but it's playable for FanTaSy. Definitely at a disadvantage, but certain things such as the faster racks and the stim pack could definitely give him ways to catch back up on work, ways to deal some damage. Vikings land down, and there is FanTaSy already picking up a handful of SCVs to get this started, so it's definitely one way to get back into this. The two Vikings here, they're like, yeah, you guys are going to lift up. Drops them down, and now FanTaSy is just going to go target one of them. He will lose the other Viking. I thought he was going to lift back up and be like, haha, and then he's going to drop back down. Oh my god, 2 more Vikings in the natural expansion. Well, we all know Vikings are important in TvT. Usually they're not the way to get back into the game when you've lost a bunch of workers. He's going to kill the siege tank. Oh my god. Marine goes down. SCVs are still dropping. Kira has not responded to this properly at all. Kira's just lost 15 workers and counting still. The siege tank also. Oh, this is real bad. Now he does have some Vikings and a Raven heading on the top side. But FanTaSy has an attack going towards the third base. And these tanks are out of position in the middle of the map. Oh my god. FanTaSy picking away at a supply depot here. Finally, a Viking and a Marine coming through, but more SCVs are going to die before that is done. My god, he's going to get rid of this siege tank on that top side as well. The third CC in a lot of trouble here. These Vikings will land, and damage will be done. Oh my god, SCVs are getting massacred for FanTaSy too! What's going on? Can't these guys just play a normal TvT? Why has it always got to be so crazy? He's going to get the stim pack kill with the order turrets in the main base. Oh my god, the Vikings in the main base of FanTaSy have killed absolutely everything. There's a new siege tank about to spawn that should be able to clean this up, and it will get the kills. FanTaSy down by 8 workers. Q is sending more units across the map. FanTaSy is going to lose his Ravens, at least number 1. He still has 4 siege tanks over here. He's got SCVs just hanging out AFK on the low ground as the Raven getting more kills. 28 workers die on each side of the map, and now the siege tanks appear from Q to try and set up some sieges. My god, those tanks still trying to do what they can, but he's about to lose the Raven, so he's going to lose high ground vision. A Liberator on the way out. He's going to scan to try and get the starport. If he kills the starport, and stops this Liberator, that would be absolutely huge. He does stop the Liberator by forcing the Starport to lift. We're going to be seeing the Vikings landing on top of the tanks here. Is going to be able to get one and should get two. Nicely done. Another Viking will land to fight the Siege Tank. Another Siege Tank to back it up as well. Oh my god. 43 SCVs lost for FanTaSy. 37 lost for Cure. Cure is up by 16 SCVs though, and that's huge. FanTaSy drops some mules on the third base. My god. What an absolute massacre. One absolute massacre on either side of the map. FanTaSy still has these Siege Tanks though, and FanTaSy has 1-1 upgrades, and FanTaSy has Stimpack though. Stimpack's obviously huge. The bio upgrades in general here are huge. It gives FanTaSy a lot of potential to continue being aggressive on the map. As a single Viking. He's actually just going to go straight up, target down. Again, the Starport's a huge target. Is he going to get it? The Vikings are so close to coming out here. Has to cancel the Vikings again. Oh my god. FanTaSy is denying extremely crucial units by denying the production. Factory is going to have to lift as well. Viking will get some more shots on it. SCVs come to repair. Building barracks is going to get taken down. This little position in the corner is working wonders. We're also going to be seeing even more Marines coming across the map. What was this game? Cure is floating money, and that's not through his own lack of macro. It's because he can't build anything. All of his production structures are being pushed so far back. This line of tanks from FanTaSy is working wonders here. Marines drop onto a tank in the natural as well. If 1-1 upgrades about to have combat shields too, they can fight all day. There's no siege tanks there. The Marine on Marine fights are extremely favored to FanTaSy. He is up 30 army supply now. My god, he's going to kill another barracks. Even more damage done. Tanks are going to siege up once again. Tank on the high ground gets taken down. Marines and another tank coming over, and Cure will type out GG FanTaSy. What a freaking series